Probably seen us around here a little bit, but I'll introduce myself if we've not chatted yet. My name is Kate. I work at Stacks Labs. I'm the content manager. So I do a lot of the video, blog, email, written content that comes out of Stacks. Prior to that, I was working at Trust Machines on Leather Wallet and Granite. You guys might have heard of that throughout this week. Prior to that, I've been a Bitcoiner for 5 or 6 years, so I've kind of been around the centralized industry, but recently I came to DeFi, so really on-chain, and through this I've really come to appreciate the difference between building a centralized company versus building on-chain, and just like how important it is to build in public, be transparent, and I think one of the most awesome things that you can do as a founder is to show your passion and show how you're building in public, and I think that gets you very far. So that's something we'll chat a lot about today. But yeah, it's great to officially meet all of you guys.
Yeah, my name is Brandon. I'm also at Stacks Labs. Prior to that, I was at Trust Machines as well. So Kate and I moved over the start of October. So yeah, I was working on Leather and Granite as well. This January, it'll be 3 years that I've been working in the Stacks ecosystem. Before that, I was at BlockFi for 2 years. So I can tell you plenty of stories about the rise and fall of BlockFi for those that are interested in having those conversations after. But that was my kickstart into working in Bitcoin. So I've been working in the space for about 5 years now. And before that, I was at Microsoft for 9 years, doing all sorts of stuff.
What did you do in Microsoft?
A lot of different sales roles, and over time it started to shift more and more to sales, and I wanted to get more back into marketing and also work in Bitcoin, so that was kind of my, why I didn't stay at Microsoft. I could have made a career there, but I chose to leave.
I always ask myself like that at Microsoft.
Yeah, it was a great job at the time, but I just, I wanted to get away from doing sales. But I think the main through line, going back to the marketing side, is for me, all the jobs that I've been at and working in Bitcoin is the power of community and how important it is to foster a community and grow a community and to listen to your users and to deliver feedback to the builders, which in this case is you. So that's, we'll touch on some of that today, but I think that's been the biggest focus for me is community and how powerful that can be.
All right, so marketing for builders, how to get your first users to use the product. And so this whole session is really around showing how early stage marketing, where you're at right now, is very different from big company funnels, stuff like that. So you'll notice it's going to be scrappy, it's going to focus on learning and sharing your journey and not being perfect and just iterating, shipping constantly. And one thing I'll point out is we're putting this presentation out here for you, so we're practicing what you preach. So the feedback and the questions that you guys have for us will help us develop more of a framework and maybe more templates or skills that we can give to you guys so that you can actually apply it to your products. So we're gonna, pitch this. If it works for you, then that's awesome. But if it doesn't, we'll take your feedback and we'll come up with other things that are gonna help you guys.
Have you ever did this presentation before to anybody?
No.
No.
First, that's what I'm.
This is our alpha.
This is our alpha. Yeah, this is our fresh, hot off the mind. What do we think about it? So the reality is a lot of products, especially in crypto, fail because not because the tech is bad, but because nobody understands them, and that's really a messaging problem. So if someone doesn't understand it's really hard for them to follow the rest of the features. The most important thing that you can do is just clearly explain what your product does. So Brandon and I are going to go around later and we have a question for you, and it's going to be if you could explain to your moms what you're building, what are you building? And that is super important to nail down because it can get very complicated very quickly when you're explaining tech to people, and you can lose them very quick, and it's hard for them to go through the whole process of using your product if you really can't explain it from the get-go.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think one of my biggest pet peeves in crypto marketing especially is kind of what we're talking about in the second and third bullet point is not providing enough context into what it is that you're talking about. We tend to sometimes be technical, we're in crypto, we're in the weeds, there's a lot of jargon, a lot of acronyms, a lot of stuff that we all know and say every day, but like to the average person, like they probably don't have any idea what any of that stuff means. So it really is like explain like I'm 5, like that expression, like trying to really break it down into like concepts that your users will, your potential users will understand, and never assume that they know what you're talking about. Like try to simplify it as much as you can.
Yeah, so that really leads us into this next slide, which is like the tip. Explain it like I'm 5. So when I'm explaining Stacks to people for the first time, I'm not immediately going to be like, well, public transfer, like all these network fundamentals. I really start with, well, Stacks is a place you can earn Bitcoin on your Bitcoin. Or if I'm talking to a builder, I say, Stacks is a place where you can build Bitcoin native apps. And that's how you engage people, and then you can go deeper into your features from there. But you want to start with a very simple phrase of, we help X do Y so they can do Z. And if you can answer that, you have a very solid foundation that you can build on your messaging from there.
Yeah, and it's asking like certain questions about it, like the whys, the whats, like what it is, who is it for, why it matters. Really like honing in on who your audience is that you're targeting for the app or the project that you're building, and then finding ways to compare that with current solutions that might be on the market, and why your app is better, like why the current options suck, and like why yours is gonna be better than theirs. And again, like breaking it down, trying to simplify it as much as you can.
Yeah, just to add on to this, especially building in this industry, Bitcoiners hate anything that's not Bitcoin. And they love transparency. So if you're trying to overhype and exaggerate, like we built, I put some words in here, like you should not use these, like this is a game-changing, revolutionary paradigm shift. Like just don't over-exaggerate, explain very clearly what you're building. And people start to trust that. And the more you repeat that message, the more people come to trust you and are very willing to probably try your product or use some of these words.
We had to delete revoluzione from the. We're like maybe.
Yeah.
So Gama did that, right? Revolutionary program.
The best time
Is
for
the
a
world,
Yeah.
Brazilian
Tone down,
revolutionary.
tone down.
He has
Especially-
muscles, but not that many muscles.
Because a lot of these words are vague too. Like it's very confusing. It
Yeah.
could mean a lot of different things. So you just like very clearly say what it is. If you have numbers, that's also extremely helpful. Like whether it's dollars or users or whatever it is, those are always very helpful. Keep it simple.
Yeah, I think one thing I'll add on, and I'll give like a pretty specific example is, like try to be as honest as you can with what it is that you're building and what you're trying to market. Like you don't need to stretch the truth and lie. Like if your product is good enough, like you don't need to do any of that stuff. I don't know, for you guys that are familiar with like Bitcoin Ordinals, the founder of Ordinals, his name's Casey, and he had a podcast recently that he was on with one of his friends, Aaron, and they were breaking down all these different Bitcoin layers. And they got to Stacks, and they were like, what is Casey's thoughts about Stacks? And he was talking about the fact that they would often market themselves as like a replacement for Bitcoin. Like that's how he saw it as a Bitcoiner. But like obviously Stacks is not a replacement for Bitcoin, right? Like we know that it's trying to make your Bitcoin more productive. But like that's how he received it in the marketing that Stacks was doing years ago, right? And it's not so much that anymore, but that perception that was built, then has carried to now, and he still believes that. So it's really important, especially as you're trying to, build things, to just be honest about what it is that you're building, and it, should be able to stand up on its own without needing to stretch the truth or anything like that.
All right, so that gets us into kind of like what your day-to-day would look like if you put your marketing hat on as a builder. So you really want to get into this habit of building, shipping, but sharing. And then after you're sharing, you really need to listen to what people are saying, and then from there you take that iteration, or you take that feedback and you iterate. So it's really, you're trying to create this feedback loop with your first users. If it's 10 users, like that's amazing, and you really work with them. 10's better than 0. And so, yeah, we talk about builder marketing being really fast and scrappy and being in public. And honestly, you have to be a little bit vulnerable to do this because you're exposing yourself to getting some harsh feedback. but it's the fastest way to fix your problems and to grow, and it really helps people trust you and what you're building. So, you know, through this process, you're really trying to find, do people care about what I'm building, and does this solve a real problem? And that also helps you nail down that message of like, I build X for Y to help them do Z. Yeah, I think, do you have more to add to that?
Yeah, I'll just say, we can go to the next slide, but I think it's like, it's also okay to, you know, adapt, to change, you know, what you're doing based on the feedback that they give. Like, there's a lot of apps, even in the Stacks ecosystem, that didn't start, you know, with what they are now. Like, Bitflow, for example, did not start as like a decentralized, like, DEX. Like, they started as like something else. So, just as an example. So, it's like, it's okay to pivot, you know, based on what your, you know, what feedback is being given to you.
Yeah, this is kind of going, we'll get into this in the next slide actually. It's sort of, okay, well how do I actually do this? How do I build in public and be open and share what I do? And a lot of crypto is on X, so that's a great place to be, and we'll kind of get into some like platforms and tools that you can use. But if you're on there, you know, daily sharing progress or wins that you've had, but also sharing struggles, failures that you've done, lessons, you know, just your whole journey really helps people root for you and want to support you if you're being open and honest. So like people, yeah, they really trust builders who show the real work, and they're not polished, they're not putting on a facade, they're just showing what they're building, and they're gathering insights as they go. So Brandon put this point in here, if you're sharing something, you know, you should be thinking like, would this be useful for me? Am I actually gaining anything? Am I sharing insight that's useful? That's a pretty good like threshold check, or something that keeps you in line when you're sharing things online. Again, you don't have to hit this box every single time, but as long as you are, you know, consistently posting like this and sharing some real value, over time it really compounds and adds up.
Yeah, good.
Many questions there, because like X algorithm is like super difficult. I have a friend who's a developer, he has like 100,000 followers, and then he was like sharing posts about like use of AI, live coding tools
Yeah.
in Web3 space. He's a key developer advocate for Polygon. Like he would be sharing things, and from 100,000 followers, like 10 comments, 100 people would see it. So an unusually high mismatch of his follower base and the results. When we started building BitMarket, I was following him because he just started on this spree of how the AI vibe coding tools can be used in this setting. And I was like, this guy has 100,000 followers, and those are all real followers. And nobody's like making any reaction, like what's the point in me having 700? Then we went into a discussion about it, and he started building tools that try to reverse engineer the X protocol. And over the period of, let's say, 1 month, we came to a certain conclusion that even if your account has 100,000 followers, but let's say 10 of those followers are certain like account bots, you get so much deprioritized, so you need to forbid those accounts from following.
Yeah.
Then his engagement like grows for 20-30%. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like sharing on Dex fine, but like nobody sees it. How do you amplify the message? I don't have money for marketing, and it's just like so slow process. So how do we go about it?
It's a good question. Maybe it's controversial, but I actually don't really pay too much attention to the algorithm. I think at the end of the day, like, good content will be surfaced. Having said that, though, I think there's like a few things you can definitely do to optimize. One is like, if you are, like, say for example, he got 100,000 followers posting about some other kind of niche, and then he pivoted to this new type of content. Those followers followed him for some other, I don't know, in this case, I don't know if that's the case, but, you know.
He was just following like developer, Web3. He's like
Yeah.
Web3 for the last 7 years. So it was like very particular case where we saw like, you know, it's very difficult to reach people.
Yeah.
But
But
how do
You've
you,
got bots. So
Ah.
I feel like even like huge ass companies in the space haven't got 100.
yeah, I know, but like he went through a journey and he actually documented every step of it for
Yeah.
the last 30 days. He's building tools, he's trying to figure out how the X is working and what you need to do basically to get your content out there. So it became like, when I saw it, I was like, this is not a lot of work, this is like science. Like, you know, are we here scientists on X? And then if X is not the channel, what else is there for us? How do I move from one user and 700 followers to wherever?
Yeah.
Is it about, we know that it's not about buying.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to buy.
Yeah, of course, like
yeah.
if it's not about buying, because it's about partnering, how many X posts should
Yeah.
Stacks Foundation or Stacks account do for each of our projects that we have 20 people following us?
Let me finish my thought, and I know you have a lot of thoughts on this too. I think it is, just to finish what I was saying, like I think it is very important to like find your niche and stick with that. Obviously, outside of Bitcoin, I have a lot of interests, but on my Twitter, like my personal Twitter, I pretty much am only 100% posting things related to Bitcoin, because that's what my followers who followed me for, right? That's what they care about. So if you're posting a lot of different things, like that can definitely hurt you.
Yeah, of
But
course.
I think you would be good to talk about like more like owning your audience and like I'm sure you have more to talk
Yeah.
about.
So you can't think of like just posting on social media as like, well, if I just post, it's gonna grow. And you can't think of, okay, if I partner with this channel, I'm gonna grow. And you probably are gonna hate to hear this answer, but it's all of the things, right? It's posting consistently, posting genuine value, not being overly AI driven. It's like a combination of all of these things that go into it. And the more that you post consistently, the more that you get feedback as to like what people engage with you and what their interests are, and then you tailor that content to that niche. The more that you can kind of like niche down to a specific target audience, the more that you attract those organic people, and then through them is like how it compounds and grows. Yes, continue. Yeah, go ahead.
So, another question.
Should we hold questions to the end maybe so we can get
Yeah, I can go ahead, I can
a lot
write
of
it up.
people might have
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, sure.
I'll just add one thing too. One thing on the algorithm that I have noticed that does help a lot is engagement. If your users are engaging with you, I mean, for most of you guys, you are small enough where you are not receiving hundreds of inbound inquiries, and you have the bandwidth to reply. But that really does help with the algorithm. Like Twitter will show people your posts if the people that they are following are engaging with you. Like that's like one tick on the algorithm, that they're looking at. So if you're getting engagement, if you're getting replies, if you're replying back to them and you're having conversations in your replies, that stuff is very, very valuable from like an algorithm standpoint on Twitter.
Yeah, and so if you're, okay, so we'll get into like how you can actually share things, and that would lead to feedback and questions. So if you're sharing demos and prototypes, of the product that you're building, and you start to get questions, you basically take that question, you turn it into content or a prompt, and you answer that, and that becomes another piece of content. And so you're continuously building on previous content that you've made, and it kind of like guides you through what people are looking to get answered in order to use your product. And then one of the best things that you can do is if you do, if you have a user win or someone in your community really likes something about your product, obviously turn that into a testimonial, and you can share that. You can build that into a case study, or ask them if they're willing to create a clip or do something for you. But that's like when you have your first users, you can get really one-on-one and intimate with them, and really help them boost your content organically.
Yeah, just plus one to that. I mean, especially if you don't have like a ton of bandwidth, obviously you don't, to be like full-time marketing, right? Because you're building. Having the ability to repurpose content as much as you can, like taking one piece of content and like splitting it out into like 5 or 6 different ways of almost saying the same thing but in a different way is super, super valuable.
All right, then we have a couple final tips for when you're sharing things. Obviously, there's just like an endless feed of content, and it's really hard to stand out. But if you start with a strong hook, so maybe something like, it really depends on the product you're building, but if you can say like, I helped people save $100 in transaction fees, or You know, people talk about onboarding the next billion Bitcoiners, but like I figured out what's actually blocking that. You know, people are like, well, what is it? Like I want to know. You can kind of like bring them in. And so yeah, your first sentence has one job: make them stop scrolling and come check you out.
Well said.
All right, we can get into some of the tools personally that we use. Now, you definitely don't have to use these, but I thought they could be a useful place to start if you're interested. So, one that I personally love is called Screen Studio. So, all of our content is on the computer or on your phone. And so this is just like a really great way to record your face and the screen at the same time, and you can talk through exactly what you're doing. This is super great, and the way that it's really easy to edit after the fact, and I use this on a daily basis, and it just comes out super clean. It's really, really nice, so I would definitely recommend that you use this one. Typefully is Brandon's bread and butter.
Yeah, Typefully, literally every day, it's what I use to draft Twitter posts. You can also set it up to cross-post to, I think they work with like Blue Sky, like Mastodon, LinkedIn. It supports like cross-posting to all of those platforms all at once, which is super handy. But it's also great it shows your drafts in like a very Twitter native format. It allows you to schedule them out, and yeah, just do a lot to keep things organized. So I'm in that all day, every day.
Yeah.
It's probably my most used tool for social.
Which is nice because if you have an idea and you're not ready to like fully flesh it out, you can just go in there and like jot it down and then, you know, come back to it when you have some time and fully write out what it is you were trying to say. But that's a great one for X specifically. For design needs, I use Canva. It's super easy. There's lots of templates in there. If you don't want to like go through a whole branding process, you can kind of play around with it in there and publish a ton of different social media assets. And then you want to talk about this one? We use this one very often as well. Might not be as necessary, but we'll share it for sure.
I wanted to especially talk about Headliner because for you guys, you probably are like engaging in Twitter Spaces. If you're not, you should. That's a really great way to like connect with the community. But Headliner is a really awesome tool that allows you to take audio and translate it into like video formats that you can then like post on social. So it's a really great way of like repurposing those audio from like Twitter Spaces. And then Riverside is a tool that we also use that's like more for streaming. If you're streaming content, you can upload videos to it, and it'll like generate like clips like of the most important parts or interesting parts of the videos. You can use it just as a live streaming platform. You can stream directly to Twitter. You can stream to Twitch and YouTube and all that stuff if you want to. Again, it's like similar to Typefully, where you can like stream to multiple platforms at the same time. It's really nice. And Headliner, I believe, has and Riverside as well. I believe they both have free tiers. So you can pay more to get more features, but they're really great.
I'll touch on AI at the end because I think we have one more kind of while we're on this subject. So platforms to be on. I mean, the most important thing is be where your audience is. So I guess it really depends on the product you're building. Maybe they're on a specific platform, but X is obviously a native home for crypto, so that's where I definitely recommend that you start. And I would say, you know, it's great to have like a product account and then you as like your founder personal account. I would recommend that you share more of like your personal lessons learned, triumphs, failures from your founder or your builder account. And then more of like the product tutorial walkthroughs, obviously from your product account. So it's nice to have the two, and then there's a lot of like cross posting or sharing that you can do, and you know, that's definitely how I would recommend that you go about using X. We have used Zeely in the past. I'll let Brandon talk a little bit about this one, but this is sort of like a community platform where there's a ton of different chains that are using Zeely, and it's really a questing platform. So you kind of like incentivize users, you can incentivize them with tokens, NFTs, with kind of a bunch of different things, and they just had an integration with Stacks, which is really nice. So you can connect a Stacks wallet to Zeely. There's a few different communities within Stacks that have started using Zeely, and we did this large Stacks campaign, and it did boost some numbers.
Yeah, over the summer.
How
Yeah.
many users did you get on Zeely?
I think we had over 1,000 unique wallets. We did it over like a 3-month time period, and it was a pretty big budget that we had. I think it was like $20,000 that went into that. So that was a big one.
Wait, for 1,000 accounts, $20,000?
It was probably more than
Much
more than that.
more.
Yeah.
Those are huge numbers.
Yes. But it was also a big collaboration between, like, it wasn't just like a Stacks thing. It was like we collaborated with like Bitflow and Velar and like Granite and Zest and Stacking DAO and like all these different things. But there's also like a lot of meme coins as well that have used Zeely in the past. Like the Welsh community was really big on Zeely. That's how I actually first heard about it back in the day, and other communities are there as well.
Yeah, so you can do things like get them to follow you, like your post, reshare, you know, just like different tasks that you can do on Zeely. So it's definitely worth looking into. I wouldn't say it's the highest quality. You're not automatically going to get retaining users. It's sort of like a numbers thing. If you're really looking to like boost a certain metric, it can be useful, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee that, you know, people are going to stay and be super loyal users to your product. So it's kind of a tool that you got to use a little bit cautiously, but it can be useful. I put YouTube on here. If you do have sort of longer tutorials or you really like the screen sharing option, I think YouTube is great to start a channel, and you can post all those tutorials on there. And then especially as people come in and say, okay, well, how do I use your product, or how do I do this? If you can just link them the YouTube video, that's always super useful. And then we've used Telegram in the past. This is sort of, you can keep it open as a group chat, but especially for your first users, it's really great to have a space, a closed space where they can ask questions, share their feedback, their thoughts, and you can give like real-time answers to them. We used it when we were growing Granite, the lending protocol, and it's been great. It kind of flourished pretty well. And then Reddit. Reddit's not one. I would use Reddit more as like a sleuthing tool to figure out, you know, problems that people have, questions that people have. There's some like Reddit tools. I should have found out the name, but basically you can kind of like scrape Reddit and get answers. So if you're building towards a specific product or problem, you can kind of like search for keywords and see what questions people have, and that also helps you tailor your content to answering those questions, or tailoring your product to help fix those problems.
Gummy search is one of the
Gummy
big
search,
ones.
that's it, yeah, yeah.
How you spell that?
Like the
Gummy?
like gummy, like the candy.
Okay.
GMY
Gummy
search.
Y.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't include it in this list, but I'll add Discord as well as like another really great platform. Depending on the scale.
Judge Discord at all? Is it intentional? That's what I wanted to ask.
No, not intentional. I think Discord, is great eventually. I wouldn't necessarily use it as like the first platform that you're on. I think once you start to scale up a little bit, that's when I think something like Discord is great. But it can be just a little cumbersome, I think, compared to just like a simple like Telegram group, right? Like if you're just bootstrapping, trying to get like really quick feedback, I think something like a Telegram or even just like a Twitter like group chat is faster and easier to set up. But at the end of the day, like, be where your audience is. If all of your followers have Discord and they're demanding Discord, like, maybe that's the way to go.
All right, I thought I would end it on AI, because it's probably a question a lot of you have, like, can I use AI? Should I use it? And I think that yes, you should. I personally use it to go from a blank page to a first draft, but I definitely do not just like put a prompt in and like copy and paste. I think what happens is there's so much AI fatigue on the timeline, and people can really tell through different like grammar, but also just the way it's written. Like you can really tell when it's AI, when it's not, and especially with generated images. I think we're all kind of sick of them a little bit. But I think it definitely helps you get started, especially if you're like blanking on, you know, how to come up with what you're saying, or especially for me, like if I'm trying to explain a really complex topic, I'll put it into GPT and have a conversation with it of like, I don't know, I just have a conversation with it to really explain it in a human terms, very simple, complex, non-complex way. So that's how I would go about using AI. I would not rely on it as like just copy paste it to like make posts and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll just add, like, I know, you know, maybe English isn't your first language, right, and it's a little more difficult, so AI is certainly helpful for that, but I think at the end of the day, like, people, going back to, like, you know, a few slides ago, like, people really value the authenticity, so if your voice is not sounding like the things that you're posting because AI is basically writing them for you, people see that, right? If what you say is very different than what you post, like people catch on to that stuff pretty quickly. So yeah, it's important to just make sure that, you know, certainly use it as a tool, but don't use it as a replacement. It's, you know, at the end of the day, like your voice, and that's really important. People value that.
Thank you. Wow.
Thank you.
Questions?
Yeah,
We're
please.
gonna have a few, yeah?
Yeah.
I've got a question on, I think on the third slide you had a thing about build small, test, and get feedback.
Like this?
Yes.
Yes.
Ship something small, get feedback. Okay, so we kind of need to reverse engineer that, and I'm just wondering what your views on that are. Like we've built big, haven't got enough feedback, and need to kind of go backwards.
So you said you've built big and you haven't had enough feedback?
We build a platform,
Yeah.
not enough feedback, how do we get more
So
feedback?
yeah, just how to reverse engineer that, or what to do when this situation comes.
That's a good question. I might need to think a little bit longer on that one, but
Don't think it's
I-
bad space.
yeah, I would also like maybe try to get feedback on a specific thing. Like instead of like taking part of your product away, maybe like tailor in on what is the like what could your product not live without, and try to like bring users in and say like get them to ask very specific questions about that one part, and get feedback there, and then maybe you can move to like another smaller thing. But I wouldn't say like you have to strip your product back and you know, unless people aren't using it. But I would just find out like what your MVP is, your most important aspect of the product, and seek feedback on that first, because that's, you know, what the product is about. That's what's gonna make or break you.
Yeah, I'll just say, I think this is like also where the power of community is super helpful in like taking some time to like, you know, to engage with your community and to try to get their feedback. Ileana mentioned Twitter Spaces. That's like a really great, you know, example. You could share like, hey, I'm building this. If there's anybody's interested, you know, checking it out, like, you know, starting those conversations. And it might be something where like you're working like one-on-one with like one of your users, right? And like literally like spending time with them to start to get that feedback and start to get the ball rolling. But I think, yeah, community in this case is like super, super valuable.
Can you tell them to sign up?
So we were just looking at Gummy Search, and just an FYI for everybody, apparently they're shutting down. And so
The free tier.
the free tier is shutting down
Yeah.
at the end of the month, but after the end of the month you won't be able to sign up for the paid tier at all. But anybody who has already signed up will still get access for a year. So if you do want to sign up for it,
Sign up
do
right
it
now. Like right now.
Thank you, Kenny. We have a question over here.
Absolutely.
Okay, oh, wait, do you have one?
Oh, I found that in the beginning, most of the revenue we've made is by doing hand-to-hand combat, not like online marketing. And so the more that we are interacting physically with people, the more we can predict the revenue for the startup for the first year. I would love to be able to have a magic wand and do things online, but going to Vegas and going to Arizona and coming here has done more for our revenue than anything I could think of posting. Maybe that's because I'm bad at marketing or better at sales, I don't know.
What's your product? I'm curious.
We have a few.
Okay.
So right now I'm marketing the Ultimate Developer Championship, where the problem is most projects go to GitHub to die when they win hackathons, and interviews test for the wrong thing. They test your ability to speak English, not code. And so we're deleting interviews. I'm a headhunter, so I know how they can go awry, and we're having developers compete, and we're turning them into athletes that you can invest in, like sports athletes when they win. And,
Yeah, I'll just say, I love that you have like a counterpoint to that. I think like obviously meeting in person like we are right now, it's like extremely valuable, right? But it's also not scalable like online.
You're right.
is. So there's like certainly pros and cons to it. But like yeah, if you have the ability to like do things in person, like absolutely, like yeah, there's so much value in that.
I mean, to add on to that, so if you find that in person is the most valuable thing, you should invest in that then. And so, like for instance, we're going to be coming around and asking you guys questions and taking content that you can create videos out of and you can share. So you should leverage the in-person thing and use that online and like if it connects in person emotionally, it'll probably translate online as well.
We've started filming our interviews in person, and then we send the interviews with the other people, and so it becomes that relationship that continues, not just someone you get a telegram address
Yeah, exactly.
from.
Do you have like a brand account that you share things from?
Depends on I'm a headhunter launching startup, so we
Okay.
have many different startups,
Yeah.
but the idea is that I found if I really want to make a sale in the first 3 to 6 months, let me just go on a plane, go somewhere, if people are really serious about selling it,
Yeah.
you know? And I'll find them more in 2 days at a conference than in a year online trying to engage people. I don't know.
I mean, if you find something that works, you gotta go all in on that. Yeah.
Sounds like you're a good salesman.
Yeah.
I'm better at sales than marketing,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Sounds like it. Not in a bad way, but like from what you're saying.
I wish I was better. I wish I was
I
more.
didn't mean that in a bad way at
No,
all.
no, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found my lane.
The conclusion is go to Las Vegas. Get a hangover with Blockface. So
Easy to sell things there.
I don't complain about getting viral, you know, and I know coronavirus, but I did remember that I had plenty amount of followers, like 500 at least per day that were watching me years ago before the pandemic. But then I decided to really focus into research, you know, because it got pretty noisy and it was a lot of people that I didn't really know. So right now I have an Instagram that I did peer-to-peer interactions and at least some meaningful conversations there. So it's like a couple of hundreds, but there are people that I think they are interested into what I'm building. So on Twitter also it's like a couple of tweets, couple of interactions, spaces, but I'm learning a lot for really more obviously into English because crypto Twitter is like that. People know about my experience that I like 6 years into I bought it into the bottom and then I just lived by the revenues. I built my apartment with that. I did a lot of stuff with that. So I think yeah, it's a kind of the situation of the content. It has to do a lot. If it's a high quality content, you put efforts on it because it's design, it's art, it's what you're doing. It's emotionally valuable. People will get that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my point of view. Yes, that's the way.
Yeah, like even the point you're sharing about you, like crypto helped you build your apartment. Is that what you
Yeah.
said? Yeah, like that would go hard. Like people would be like, "Wow, how? And what did you do?" And like that involves that, like, just opens up such a conversation. And so, if you share like how crypto or Bitcoin or whatever has affected your life and what it's allowed you to do, like that's a really big connection point. So, like that would be huge. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, Bitcoin it's not so regulated, so I think that I got a little messy about that. I thought I have to research this further, and I have a way to, you know, and I really I coach since 11 years old, so I'm really passionate about it. But anyways, let's find a way, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think what you guys should take away, like what you're doing is so niche and interesting and unique, and a lot of people just would never be able to. You have to think of like what you're doing as sort of like a, how do I say it? Like you can provide a way for people to like look into a part of the world that they would never be able to, and it's because what you're doing is so unique, and you have to think about it like that. And the people are interested in you know, like weird different people that are doing abnormal things, and I think we're all doing like weird things here.
Weird, abnormal.
Yeah.
You said on the slide, check
Yeah.
out using things.
I like
that. That's the last slide that I haven't got to yet. But you know, lean into that, and again, like show your authentic self and your genuine opinion, and it resonates. It really does.
Yes.
What did you?
Yeah. Selling to abnormal people is amazing. I like it because they are. They
Also
are.
got hangovers by Callao, like it's
Do you guys like split your types of topic up? So do you have like more salesy stuff? Do you have more deep? Like if you were to give them a little insight as to what to post? Do you have different areas, and then
Yeah. So I would look at, you don't want to go too far in the future, but maybe look at, okay, in the next 3 months, like what am I shipping, what am I working towards, and that can kind of direct the kind of content that you'll make, and then you can, I'm trying to think, because I'm coming at it as like a content person, not a founder, but I kind of look at it, you like see what's coming up on your calendar, when you're planning to ship things, and really build content around those dates. Yeah.
I was just going to ask how many like hours a day or hours a week, like we're both working full time building.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing,
How much time do you need to actually make it work?
if you put like an hour on your day and you're already, what I would say is you're already building, when you are working, like you could be filming your screen, showing what you're doing, like as you're going. It doesn't have to be, okay, I'll set aside 3 hours to just like do content. It can be like, oh, what I'm working on right now is interesting. Instead of just working, I'll like record my screen.
That's
You know?
like a way of thinking.
Yeah, it's just like you integrate it into your schedule, and it doesn't have to be all day. It can be something, today I'm working on something that I think people would enjoy. I'm gonna screen record and share as I go, and maybe offer an insight, and like there you go. That's a valuable piece of content that you just created.
One thing I'll add is like you guys are the experts in your products and your apps that you're building. Like for us, when we're marketing, we're having to learn all these new things that other people are building. So it's a little bit more challenging for us because we have to do some research and a lot of learning first, where you guys can skip that step, which makes it a lot easier. And for you, it's a little bit more efficient. And you already get the product, you understand what it is that you're building and where you're going. You just have to figure out the right way to say it for the audience that you have. So it's a little bit more better for you. Yeah.
Would you say if you're doing effective marketing that your product should change as you're marketing? If you're really engaging honestly with your target market?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
It's not that ship something.
Constantly
get
Yeah.
optimizing, Like, and it might get to a point where you're like really good, and you're just changing buttons or call to actions. Like, the biggest part is, this part is really like if you're really trying to get to your MVP, like your best product, this is the best way to do it, and then from there, like your marketing should grow, because that's when you're trying to optimize for little things within your product. I was just gonna say one kind of related to what you were talking about, because you are the experts, if you see things happening in the ecosystem and you have an opinion on them, it's also super useful if you start sharing what you think about it. That really positions you as like what we call them thought leaders. And it kind of gives you an authority that people like then trust you. That like, oh, they have an opinion on this, they know something about it. Oh, they're also building a product. Like, okay, they're legit.
How important is it right now for builders to also work on their personal branding, as you just kind of touched a little bit on that? Like,
I think it's super effective. I mean, personally, like I know I trust products more when I see the founder also out in the public having an opinion about the world, but also like sharing their process. And it's not even just within crypto, it's within like, there's various personalities on Twitter that like I really trust them because they're out there, they're engaging with people, like they're in the discourse. And because of that, I feel like they're a real human and they have like authenticity, and I just trust their products more.
Yeah, like just as some examples, right, in the ecosystem, like when I think of like experts, I think of like Jan. When I think of like, Bitflow, I think of like Diego. Like, these people are out there, and like, again, it's like going back to the authenticity and like building that trust. So yeah, I think it's super important to also build your personal brand. People really appreciate that.
just gonna add on, I know what like a few of them will put 30 minutes in their day to just interact on other people's stuff. So if it's like a coffee break, just having those 30 minutes to like scroll through Twitter, comment on things, and make sure that you're sharing them.
Yeah.
Being a reply guy is super
Reply
valuable.
guy. That's
Yeah.
that's the cheat code.
It's going back to like what I was saying about the algorithm. That is actually very helpful from an algorithm standpoint, being a reply guy. Yeah, and then again, it helps you build up. Going back to like what Kate has been saying, like it helps you think of new things to post about or to talk about. Like it really helps like also inspire future things that you might, pieces of content that you might create or things like that.
You know how difficult it is to be a reply guy?
Yes. I
30
do.
minutes of your day.
He's
do
a
it.
full-time reply guy.
Every day.
I wanted to get your take on a couple of things. One was that like personal branding thing. Watching different builders attempt to like talk about and market their products and stuff like that. Do you think that it's even necessary to have a like branded product account in the beginning, or do you think it's more effective to stick with their personal account and just talk about what they are building directly from that in the beginning, like for quite a while?
I think if you have to choose one, I would go personal, like, building your brand. But if you're gonna do that, like, just going back to like finding your niche, like make sure that that's really just mostly only what you're posting about, so that you can start to build up the followers. That way, when you are ready to launch your actual brand account, it's really easy to make that transition and direct your followers over.
I think it also depends where you are in your product development. Like if you have a go-to-market product that's ready, you probably also are ready for a brand account. But if you're like still in the process of building, it hasn't been released yet, you need feedback, like the brand account is definitely not the most important. I would definitely focus on the personal, for sure. Yeah.
Because that's where I think, kind of like what Mike, the question you were asking, I think a lot of early stage builders, they get too focused on trying to replicate what big accounts are doing.
Exactly.
When that's not what they
Yeah.
should be focusing on at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like focus on the things that don't scale, reply to people, get on Twitter Spaces, talk about what you're building.
Yeah.
Plus what Brandon was saying, like there's not a content marketing team that's going to be able to take a screenshot or screen share of the PR you just pushed and talk about what the feature is.
Yeah.
But you can as the builder.
Right.
And so instead of trying to like replicate what a big content marketing team's going to do what only you as the builder can do and keep it like simple and focused on just sharing what you're building, because that's your unique advantage with the position that you're in, is being able to make content like that.
I think that's one of the most helpful things of the set.
Okay, cool, awesome.
Yeah,
it's a
really good point. I'm glad that we're talking about it. I would like to call it like a couple builders on Stacks that I think do a really good job of this on their personal accounts. Like Rosar is a good one. Changed his name recently.
Koa,
yeah.
Jimmy Kai,
is
yeah.
Kai
Builder.
Yeah, those two I think just come to mind immediately. Like that they do a really good job with that on posting on their personal accounts, documenting what it is that they're building, getting that instant feedback. They do a really good job with it.
do you have any like, because I think the Twitter Spaces are another like underutilized one that we kind of talked about. Do you have any recommendations for specific spaces that people should try and start participating in, and how they should go about it? Because the other thing I tend to see sometimes with newer builders is they're too focused on just like, they just want to shill their thing and tell people about it, and they're not as, I feel like they should almost be treating the people they're talking to as like partners rather than like an audience in the very beginning. So I don't know if you have any like tips for what spaces to get involved in, and then just kind of like how to talk to people about stuff.
I think I think it's important to like go in with like a very specific ask. If there's like something specifically that, a specific feature that you're launching, a specific part of your app that you want people to check out, like call that out. Don't just go on like the Ordinal show and start like talking about like your project and just like you said, just like shilling it. Like go in with a specific ask. Like I need help from people to test out X, Y, and Z. Like have a more specific thing that you're asking for, rather than just being vague and broad and talking about your project generally. Because then people recognize that stuff right away, right? If you're just shilling, like people just tune out and they don't care as much. So.
Yeah, and if you don't have a specific ask, maybe it's like a story that happened for your team that week. Maybe it's a problem that you guys solved, and you can kind of tell like what you went through and what the outcome was. Or if you're having, again, it just kind of goes back to like whatever is happening in that moment for your product. If you're sharing it in real time, it draws people in more than just hearing about your feature set. Like they can go on, if you have a website or like you have a brand account, they can go on that and read their features. They want to know, they're looking to you because you have information that's not on the website, and they want to know something unique or different, or like an opinion or a perspective that you have that they can't find on the website. And that's why they would go to the founder account or listen to a space that you're on. I know Stacks has weekly, Eliana's the queen of spaces here, so she has all the good ones, but there is a Stacks weekly DeFi show. It's every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. There's always, we're always looking for new people to come on because it's usually me and like Tycho, and we're talking about like what's new this week, and if we brought people that are building that are new, like that would be actually super exciting and refreshing.
So we should be
Yeah,
to be on that.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, just request to be a speaker and do it.
So I mean, now we're like kind of all here, right? So next to the cheat sheet, what to do? I mean, first of all, is the X right channel? So a few years back, I grew a YouTube channel from 0 to 100,000 real followers. That was like an 18-month thing with like 4 or 5 content pieces every week. It was very studio intense, and those were really good numbers.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
so
very
like, okay, X amount of posts on X on education from you guys at least once every 2 weeks or 2 times a month. Because you see that other chains are doing it. It's not about like shitting or a project, but I need to do, if now I create a 4-month content strategy that's going to be including on-weekly Medium posts, 8 or 4 X posts every day, 3 like I have a content strategy, like how do we interface with you, saying okay, 2 times a week we get a retweet in this post per calendar, we have 1, let's say, appearance in a Stacks Weekly DeFi show, so we can get that consistency. The problem is, I mean, it's very difficult to be a marketing expert in a landscape that constantly keeps changing.
Yep.
So, like, great presentation, give me like 2 slides on, okay, go-to-market strategy from 0 to like first 1,000 users, how you guys can support us. Because Mike did all of that, let's say, tweeting, right, and it gets contained within the ecosystem, how look like.
No, I want to
break
jump in.
it out.
You're asking them to push you in the ecosystem. If you can grow an account on YouTube, the hardest place to 100,000 followers, you shouldn't be focused on needing the Stacks account to push your account, because then you're just staying in the bubble. You should be trying to figure out what is my strategy to target the audience that I need, not Stacks audience. I say like start by
Yeah,
thinking bigger
yeah, that's what
rather than so like.
We
You know what I mean?
we definitely don't want to focus on Stacks audience. It's not kind of audience,
Yeah, but I
it's like
think
very,
ask them
very
bigger,
wide.
ask them more than
Yeah,
just that.
which is
Like,
very, very wide. And here it's about just like getting, not like education, it's more like credibility validation.
Yes.
Right? So I think that's most
Say
important.
come into
for the-
spaces, like I think the more you speak directly to the community and you create relationships with the community, that is how in general you start to build your own personal audience.
I would even say like before I even thought about like Bitcoin University, because I work a 9 to 5 like as an accountant, I can like just listen into spaces. So I would hop into all the Stack spaces, all the Bitcoin spaces, and just listen and kind of I was trying to just figure out what's missing in the ecosystem. And to me, it felt like the education is all there, but it's like scattered and fragmented. And so trying to create like a central location to onboard new people into the Bitcoin ecosystem and actually make sure they get like a solid grasp of what's going on, because you can hop into a Bitcoin space and these people that are like, the KOLs in the ecosystem, they're having debates about, certain concepts at a high level. And so like if you're a new person coming in and you think you understand Bitcoin at a fundamental level, but then these people are like having discussions about high level things and disagreeing, it can be like kind of confusing and maybe like scary. So you don't even have to, I would just say you don't even have to go up on stage and speak sometimes. Sometimes you can just listen and get the, get the ideas going just from listening.
Yeah, you just highlighted like almost like the most amazing, like perfect starting point for a founder is being present in the community or the space that you're trying to build for, and like you pick up on like this is what's missing. Like this is what I need to build. I couldn't think of like a better example of like how you got started.
Thanks.
I'll just say, like, you know, to Ileana's point, Stacks can't do the marketing for you. I think it's something that I've just, like, with talking with builders and seeing, like, what builders are talking about in the ecosystem, like, I do feel like there is a need and a desire from builders for Stacks generally to support builders more. It's a little difficult, you know. I think we're, like, I think it was like a week or two ago, we did a nice post on all of the people that received interim grants. That was really cool. We want to do a similar post for all of the D grants, and also, you know, fill in the gaps for you guys, you know, if you're not part of those two cohorts, to do, you know, a little bit of highlighting. But like at the end of the day, like just a post, you know, one post from the Stacks account about your product isn't really going to move the needle too much, right? Like at the end of the day, like it's on you to do the marketing and do it effectively. We'll certainly do our best to help, but like, you know, a post every once in a while, like from the official account, like it's not gonna be that. It'll be helpful, but not that.
I also have a question. Where do you feel your audience is? Do you think that it's just in the sex? Because when we were speaking yesterday, I feel like you said even Microsoft and these crazy huge companies do target audience. Who do you think your
I think
audience
that's
is?
the question. Like we're in this ability versus B2C versus B2B, which way we should go. You know, so that this is like a real life question for us. And I don't know the answer, honestly. I think it's like to do with whether we can get a partner and whether we pivot one way or another.
I mean,
on like what opportunities.
For Microsoft specifically, I mean, are you trying
Microsoft.
anything with like LinkedIn at all? Because like that's a huge platform for them.
No, I'm on LinkedIn.
I would try to experiment maybe with LinkedIn.
No, I think that you were talking about like using Microsoft as for testing their audience and
No.
Or just like enterprise. I mean, there's certainly like people,
Yeah.
business people are on LinkedIn, right? Like that
Right.
could be a good market to experiment with some content there.
I just want to say on that, I've had LinkedIn for almost 20 years as a recruiter, and so my funnel is Twitter with bio of LinkedIn, and then that's where I connect with people, and it's a great funnel because you can go from a casual reply maxing conversation to follow to LinkedIn view. It happens very organically that way, from reply maxing to LinkedIn.
In my case, I would say that there are core and layers. So the core will be the artists that I already know here in Buenos Aires, that there are movement evenly that knows how to handle crypto, etc. They are knowledgeable about it. Then the layers of artists that are coming to the ecosystem and then. But anyways, I'm trying to decide if there's just for the music industry or for others, because I can for the modeling industry that I'm really critical about it, because there are platforms that charges you 30% for any cell you have there. So that's a nightmare. We have now technology for giving a cheaper, a faster way. So I think there will be core and layers. So I decide really where I'm gonna apply, you know. But the people are there. It's like they are here. They want solutions.
Yeah, I think to start the job, to find what is the audience, what is the channel to acquire customers, it is part of the job. Like any case is different, even for the same for similar products. Like for my product, I got an unexpected thing that I thought. I was participating in a space, many coins. I don't even touch like many coins. It's not the kind of thing that I used to invest. I was just listening there, and one guy, the speaker guy, he saw one presentation, my presentation in X before. Then he invited me, and it was is for just people from Brazil. And for my surprise, there in this space, a lot of people from Brazil, and they showed very interested in my solution. So it was unexpected for me, you know. So sometimes you have, I think, everything in a startup, you need to try and fail and try again, so you can find your path. What's the best path for you?
Yeah.
You don't have like a recipe.
Yeah. There is no like, if you all follow this playbook, it's gonna work. That's the thing. It is so different for each person or like each company. And sometimes it's the little things that you think don't matter that like a little presentation gets you noticed, and from there it starts. And so it's like all of these. I hear people talk when they're talking about like creating social media content. They say like each piece of content that you create is kind of like a lottery ticket. You know, the more you put out there, like one could hit and it could go really viral and it brings a lot of eyes to you. But if you don't put it out there, no one's gonna see it. So you know, if you think about it that way.
Even like making music, right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of musicians' biggest hits, they didn't know it was gonna catch on fire like that, you know?
Yeah.
Musicians hate their favorite song.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But I think when people mention about this tax, I think only one thing is very important is like to show that these tax are supporting us, just to show the authentic.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so these guys are serious, you know. I think just to show it, it's very important. Yeah. So we can show the community, okay, these guys are, this tax support them, so they are really serious.
Yeah.
Serious
Totally.
project, you know.
Well, one thing I really like to do, and I've done with like current builders in the ecosystem, is like help them create content, but I don't want it to be like me coming up with the idea and you know pitching the idea to you, but like I am always, and I know Brandon is always open. If you reach out and you say like I have this idea, maybe I don't have it fully fleshed out, but like here's what I want to achieve with it. Like we're more than willing to work with you and like create the idea, create the vision, and like help you edit it and publish it. But like, it kind of needs to be like a two-way thing, right? And I think that's how like we support you, and help you grow, and you know you show that you're super serious and that you want to do this. And I feel like that's you know how you create that like really good culture between the labs and like the builders.
It's a good segue into one thing that I wanted to mention towards the end, which was who here is in the Stacks Discord, like the official Stacks Discord. So are you in the builders area of the Stacks Discord?
Everywhere.
Yeah. So I recently created a marketing channel in there. So obviously you guys can go in there and you can ask questions, and like it's new. There's not a lot of stuff going on in there yet, but like I'd love for that to be a place where we can continue having these conversations, because obviously we can't stay here forever. But I also wanted to mention that every 2 weeks we do like a community marketing working group. The links are in that channel in the Discord, but that's a great place to connect with builders across the Stacks ecosystem. Ask for specific things if there's specific things you need help testing, things like that. Like I'd love to. We're kind of just starting to kickstart it now, but we'd love to grow that and have that be a really good resource for you guys to connect.
We were doing campfire spaces monthly before as well, for more like a new project. Perhaps that's something that we can really bring back, and you guys can get going.
Yeah, I think the challenge with like those types of spaces is it does turn into like a bit of a shill fest, and it's like figuring out like how do we like how do we make it like valuable for the people that are listening and stuff like that.
We also have, one thing about the X Space is that you don't see the face, and we do have access. Peace is a huge part of the community. The organized media has been getting like 10,000 live viewers, and they're extremely open to having people come on. So like, just leveraging each other and Yeah, I think that's the most important part. We have a great builder community, and we can all benefit from cross-pollinating our audiences. You know.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with that. Like, we have like a very supportive builder community here. I mean, like, one of the things that like Kate and I are here to do is to also like interview you guys and get some video and show your products, right? A little bit. So yeah, we're looking forward to doing that. And I think, you know, especially now that we have like Stacks Labs here, you know, you'll see a little bit more of that hopefully going forward. Yeah, we're here to help, but we're not here to do it for you at the same time.
That's what we were hoping for. Like you sit down 2 hours,
Sorry, yeah.
done deal, let's go forward, like mission accomplished, ecosystem grows. Like it's your job to grow the ecosystem.
It's true.
Here are the products.
So would you say in the beginning, especially to get your first customers, it's understanding how sales and marketing work together to generate revenue and traction for those first 100 sales?
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, marketing is like the way of getting your customers' foot in the door, right? And then from there, sales kind of picks up, and you can, you know, work on, you know, marketing is less on like retention. Marketing is like getting the new users in, and then sales is more on like retaining them and like, you know, closing the sale, right? So yeah, they certainly go hand in hand.
Yeah, because while most people do window shop, most people that walk into like a brick and mortar store are ready to buy. They just need to be convinced.
Okay, my question is, well, this is more like a personal idea. So I believe that the thing with our products is that we belong to a financial system, right? So our products are impact with what happened with, you know, Bitcoin high the prices. So I don't know how we can actually escape that and start just to be just independent of that cycle of hype that happened with the different narratives around the whole market. You know, I think, for example, Polymarket actually did a good job to escape that because they are now more independent of what's going on with the market. But I believe that there is a correlation what is going on the market with what is building in any ecosystem. It's like that. So what are your ideas about how we can actually become more independent of what's going on with something like the market change?
I think that's probably the most difficult question to answer out of anything.
Yeah.
I think like market cycles, you know, you have no control over market cycles, right? Markets are going to do what they're going to do. Like during the bear markets, you know, like the main goal is to just survive almost. Right? Like that's true. Like that's, you know, and that's not just like for small guys, right? The big guys can also, you know, go down during that time. Like I first heard that phrase when I was at BlockFi. That was like $1 trillion company at the time. So yeah, that's what you need to do is survive during these bear markets. But I think that's one thing that like Stacks in particular has been really strong at is like Stacks has that track record, and you know also Bitcoin of course, right, has that track record where it has survived many bear markets. A lot of other altcoins, a lot of other, you know, stuff has died off completely. So like having that reputation of being built on Bitcoin, I think is a very big strength that we all have.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just say quickly, that's also like where your founder hat needs to come on and be like, is there something that we can build that people will still use during this time? Like maybe this is the main offering of our product, but since the market has changed, is there something now that we can offer that keeps people coming back every day? And that might look something totally different, but that's where you have to iterate and be like reactive and you know, be strategic in that way. But a lot of it is about survival, you know.
Yeah. What is the criteria to be to our product be in the Stacks web page? Like when I go to a new blockchain, I always check the apps in the web page, so I know I can trust that apps, you know.
Yeah.
So is there any criteria to be there?
know if there's criteria. Do you know the criteria?
I don't know if there's criteria. I mean, you guys all have the benefit of like you've received some sort of, you know, grant or something, you know, from Stacks, so you have a little bit of like that buy-in already. The challenge traditionally with like, you know, Stacks can't just like endorse every project out there, right? It can be dangerous, right? Especially like we hear this this often with like, well, you talk about meme coins and you know more and like you know Litecoin and whatever. And it's like it's super dangerous, right? If we're like shilling some meme coin and that meme coin founder rugs all their users, like people blame us if we were, you know. So like there's a little bit of a responsibility there where like it's a little bit intentional. Obviously you guys are in a like slightly different, you know, bucket because you're here, right? Your Stacks is supporting you. So you don't necessarily fit in that criteria as much as maybe some other people would, but that's at least like a really important consideration like that we have in terms of like what we talk about on socials and stuff like that. Like some of it is a little intentional, but I do think that we need to get better at like for the projects that are a little bit more vetted that are here, you know, doing a little bit more for them. But that's just something that we think about a lot.
It does feel like a big gap to get from like where we are to because that's a bit flows in there.
Of course,
The kind of
yeah.
reputation.
Yeah.
How what's that journey involved? Again.
Yeah, that's why they organize media and it does
Yes.
separate
It's a very good point. Yeah, there's certainly like different layers, you know, different levels, yeah, of kind of promotion that you can
So
receive.
what we have is that we don't track the ecosystem as well. It's not just staff. The layer two, this is pretty extensive. Here there are rooftop, but it's also layer two. We have decoration.
Yeah.
So we have to like interact with people as well. You know, it's really awesome. It's open source.
Thanks, guys. You've been going for
Thank
an
you.
hour.
And from this, we're gonna iterate on our presentation and build some better tools. But I mean, we're gonna come around and ask you guys questions, but we'll definitely like you know get our telegrams or Twitters and stuff, and we can have like an open line of communication, especially if you know there's something that you wanted to work on, you have an idea. I'd be more than happy to help bring it to life. All right, thank you guys.
All right.
Woo.
You guys forgot to say subscribe to our podcast.
Oh yeah.
Come on now. What's it?
Thanks.